We've been talking about this card for, I don't know, 6+ months, like every week.
Yeah.
And it's just every single time you see it played, it just never does anything. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
You build your deck around it, you do everything you can for it, and then all of a sudden you're just like, well, all for naught. Why am I even doing this to myself?
In comparison to Roland, how much nothing does it do?
Oh, I'm not even going to go there. All right, Roland is the most nothing card of all time, okay?
Okay, in comparison, I still like Bloody Mary over Roland.
Yeah, I agree. Roland may have its time to shine, okay? I'm not going to discount Roland, but for the times that we've seen Roland being played, I mean, like, you see Roland, even followed by another Roland, and then it still loses, always. It doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get into here. All right, so I had talked to the people about Bloody Mary. What is it trying to do against this control deck that Essia is running here, the NGE Shadow?
Okay, so as much, we kind of slag on Bloody Mary a little bit,
right?
But
it's good in this matchup.
This is actually a matchup where it's really good, okay? Right. Because the NGE Shadow is trying to get to that late game, is trying to get to where it can play Nefties, and then of course it just massive tempo swing, right? What Bloody Mary wants to do, as I mentioned already, it wants to control the game up until a certain point. It basically is Control Blood, right? Just a different flavor of Control Blood, more combo-oriented Control Blood. So it's looking to, in the game, I guess, spectacular fashion. Whereas regular Control Blood is just trying to grind you out of the game, and just kind of regular Control Blood doesn't really work very well versus left at all.
Because it can just generate way more value. And Catch has got like super combos in his deck. He's got Bandersnatch to fetch out Spawn of the Abyss. He's got, the combos with Bloody Mary. So he's really trying to do what the old Blood decks were doing, just in a control base. Instead of being all aggro into Spawn of the Abyss, it goes mostly control into Spawn, into Bloody Mary combo, so it can maybe even pull off an OTK out of nowhere.
Yep.
Lucius, I'm sorry.
And so Catch here has... Oh, wow. Okay. So Catch here has played Spiderweb. I'm a little interested in why he decided to play Spiderweb, at least in the deck, in the composition of the deck. I'm a little interested in that.
Could just be more ways to damage himself. Set up with Bloody Mary to even protect Bloody Mary for a follow-up Bloody Mary turn, something like that, late in the game. He might just find it to be his defensive option of choice early. Like, you see a lot of Unicas, you see a lot of Baphomets in these control lists, but you don't often see the Spiderweb imps. So maybe he's just played his matchups, he knows how he likes to play them. And that's kind of the tech choices that I've been talking about in the previous weeks, is if you're comfortable with a deck and a certain play style, choose whatever cards make sense to you, because you're the one using them, you know how to use them in the situations that you're going to come across. So play what you know. Play what you're comfortable with.
Well, he's been bringing this deck for a little bit. Well, not necessarily this deck, but the Bandersnatch, all of that. Yeah. He's been bringing this for a little
flavors.
While. So, yeah. He's all different variations of things he could be doing with Bandersnatch, and I think that's really cool. Because think about it, right? Let's say you Bandersnatch on 7, on the following turn, it pulls a Bloody Mary out of your hand. Let's just say it just happens to be like that. You got a bunch of cards that damage yourself. You can just straight up OTK your opponent because you haven't actually lost any play points, So it's kind of cool.
I think it's cool. I like the pulling out the spawn still, but then you have the Bloody Mary to just deal a bunch of damage after the spawn was in play. So, because I don't think Bandersnatch gets Bloody Mary. I think it gets 6 play points or higher. So I think the Bloody Mary is meant to be as like just a combo finisher after it pulls something.
It does get 6 play points or higher. So that is that. And so completely ignore what I just said. But that would have been cool if it worked. It's so rare. Only person I ever see playing Bandersnatch is Cat.
Yeah. And we're seeing a natural evolution of the deck. Like this, unlike Sazoni's been playing about the same list every single week, if not just a card or two off, whereas Catch is basically changing his end game, changing his mid game, changing his early game, like week to week with a similar deck, so it plays out differently. And so far, we've seen it work pretty well for Ketch.
It has worked really well for him. And what we are seeing right now is, you know, Essia kind of coming up on that very pivotal Neff turn, you know? When Neff comes down, Mordecai comes with it, and even with Ketch's very creative and clever ways of playing this deck, I don't really know, especially not with the cards that's in his hand, how he's going to be able to really overcome the Neff when it actually does come down.
Right. Honestly speaking, what he's got to do is make sure that Essia cannot clear his board so that Nephthys can't accurately pull what she wants to pull while setting up, and Spawn of the Abyss is a perfect setup for that. So, like, I feel like he might ignore the Bandersnatch or play a Kawi into it, but that would be good for Ketch, because if Ketch can basically run the Bandersnatch in, fetch a Spawn, and play another Spawn, then there's not a really good way for him to deal with that. Okay, so he is going to go for the board clear option. He knows what he needs to do.
Yeah. Essie he's a vet. He's been playing for a while, so...
Ooh. So this is perfect. This is exactly what Ketch wanted so that he can set up the Spawn. Now there's no way to easily kill this unless Essie gets lucky.
Hey, man. Never count out someone getting lucky. Oh, well, nope, there it is.
Oh, never mind.
The soul conversion.
Yeah, the soul.
You were saying... So,
yeah, never mind. Forget what I'm saying.
That's his face. He's like, yeah. That happened.
Ooh.
The copy didn't actually hit it.
So this is what happened here for you guys that don't know. So it always pulls Kawi, and Kawi normally kills the biggest follower and you gain life. However, a Lurching Corpse got ordered before the Kawi, so Lurching Corpse went off first and killed the Spawn, so it still dealt its damage. An interesting interaction for those of you wanting to build Nep decks, and if you want to play Lurching Corpse or not. Another reason in another deck not to play Lurching Corpse.
Let us conclude.
I actually like this a lot. This set.
Well, a mental waits.
Hard call, Bloody Mary. So
yep, I like this line. So basically, he's hoping to draw the namesake. Let's go, Bloody Mary. Come on, baby.
Yeah. Hey, I want to see Bloody Mary win a tournament match, okay? I will fall out of my chair, okay?
This could easily be it. There's 2 Mask of Black Deaths. There's, you know, plenty of removal in hand on the side of Ketch here. So he's got some turns.
As long as he doesn't get enraged.
Yeah.
Your death will resurrect the master.
All right, baby, let's go.
Yeah, I want to see Bloody Mary off the top.
Like,
come on.
Yeah, Bloody Mary off the top would quite literally deal 10 damage with the 2 Razor Claws in hand. So he's got exactly lethal with the Bloody Mary here.
Hey, he's got more than that. He's got the Dire Bond too, man.
Yeah, he's got the Dire Bond too, that's right. So actually, yeah, he's got 11 damage, so yeah, just 1 over lethal here. Okay, and then he's got to still deal with this, yep.
Master could eat you.
And then he has a mask. So
yep, so that'll heal another 5.
Don't play anything else. Don't play anything else. Don't do it. Don't play any Razor Claw. Nothing. Just pass.
He can't. He has to hold. I guess he could play
a
Razor.
Oh no, he's playing it. Okay, maybe he's like.
I don't mind this because technically that Mask of Black Death is still going to block all 5 damage from the Mordecai, and it gets him that extra 3 damage in now, just in case he needs another outlet to victory. Like, if he can survive with the Bandersnatch, get another Spawn out, he can still win this game with that other Razor Claw.
That's true. I personally would be, just a little concerned. Well, actually, I guess it doesn't matter if Essia gets another Kawi. He's played 2, so I guess it doesn't really matter too much at this point. If he gets another Kawi or not, because the damage that would be dealt by the Bloody Mary stuff would actually be going face. So, completely ignored. So there's 1 Mask of Black Death down.
I'm like on the edge of my seat right now.
Yeah, same here. I want to see a Bloody...
This Bloody Mary needs to come right now. Like, come on, baby.
Okay, not only do I need to see it, I need to see how many he's running in his deck, okay?
He's got 2. He's only got 2.
He's got 2?
Focus on your inferno, Tina.
So sad.
It's okay. 2 seems like a nice hedge. Oh! Every turn, come on.
Yeah, but that's not what you want, you know?
It's okay though. He can play Bandersnatch. If he plays the Mask of Black Death behind it, it'll block the Mordecai, and then there's 5, 6, 7, 8 damage total that Essia has. So he could play Bandersnatch, run it into the Mordecai to fetch a spawn, which could be lethal next turn, which is a winning play, and play Mask of Black Death to prevent lethal. I think that's the only line of play. Well, unless there's only 2 Spawn of the Abyss in the deck.
No, I don't think that. I don't think there's only 2. But... Oh no, there is only 2 spawns.
Ah, okay, so that's not a winning line. So he doesn't have access to another spawn here. So he has to draw Bloody Mary.
We did see that he had access. His Zeus was already pulled, so he doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah,
he doesn't have spawn. So he actually doesn't have any targets off of the.
Yeah, there's no Emeralda. Yeah. So it's literally just Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary is his only win condition at the moment.
Yep.
With bated breath, we wait.
Yeah, I'm, dude. I'm kind of like got this whole huddle thing going on.
I think Catch, like, and this isn't to say anything bad about his deck. I think he might have overtuned it or overteched it. There are a lot of one-ofs in this deck that just seem kind of out of place. We'll get into him if we actually see him drawn, but
yeah. The Zeus was a little bit of a surprise. I was like, "What, Zeus?"
Yeah. Hey, it's a great card to pull off a Bandersnatch. Definitely not a bad one. No, the way he had to use it, kind of unfortunate to run into a Kawi, but.
Well, basically, the next turn is do or die. You know,
this is it.
Yeah, he has to draw Bloody Mary right now. Okay, he has to draw.
Go. This would be the most spectacular turn to draw. The turn before you die.
Come on! No! No! I'm so upset.
Bruh.
I'm so sad.
Catch going out the honorable way.
Not bonding himself to death. Like, oh man. I'm so sad. I wanted to see the Bloody Mary.
So close. With that game, Bloody Mary would have done something, Aya.
I know.
It would have done
something. It would have done something.
For the first time in like 6 to 8 months, it would have done something.
That is so depressing to say, dude. Like,
I know.
In 6 to 8 months. This is the only... Wow. Oh, that's sad.
Well, Bloody Mary couldn't quite, sent the memo, texted Bloody Mary to say, hey, let's meet at the mall at 1 p.m. Come 1 p.m., there's no Bloody Mary. Come 2 p.m., there's no Bloody Mary. Come 10 p.m., the mall is closed, and there's still no Bloody Mary. That's just the way that life is.
That is the way that life is.
My dating life's not going well. I apologize for sharing something so personal on stream, but...
Rainey just had to butt in the middle of the match just to tell you how depressed he is, guys.
That hit a little too close to home. Let's see if Cash can make it work the second time around. Guys, take it away.
All right,
Perfect.
So Catch has a much more like control-oriented hand than he had the last game. In this particular matchup, I think he's just gonna kind of play a little bit more mid-rangey. His deck does have that kind of flexibility to play more mid-range versus, you know, a straight-up control list. So yeah.
Yeah, Aegis is always a deck. So Aegis is super powerful because it has a lot of tools that can essentially deal with everything in the game. The problem with traditional control Aegis is that you have a lot of really expensive stuff to answer those problems. So even though Ketch can win in the late game against Aegis, even after Aegis comes down with his combo kills, he might just really want to go in, like you said, a little bit more aggressively if he can. It doesn't look like he has the option this game, but if you can, because a lot of times Aegis might stumble on the way up the curve and you can just get a bunch of free damage in and maybe even just close it out with an early spawn. But as we see,
Bloody Mary late to the party.
Yeah, there she is. Finally, it might come into play this game. Aegis is definitely a matchup where he has time to set up.
Right.
Now, as we say that I guess has a lot of expensive cards, we're seeing a very low curve from Essia.
Yeah, but he does have Sacred Pleas popping on, like, you know, different turns. There's a Demon Key over there.
That's one of those cards I was talking about. He's running like random one-ofs like Demon Key in his deck instead of filling out on things like Spawn of the Abyss or maybe even more Zeuses or stuff like that. So I doubt it's going to have the infographic on there. Let me tell you guys what Demon Key is. So Demon Key is a countdown 5 amulet for 3. Whenever your leader takes damage during your turn, subtract 1 from this amulet's countdown. And last words, at the start of your next turn, randomly put one of the highest cost followers from your hand into play. So it's basically kind of like Bandersnatch in a different way to get cards out of your hand instead of your deck.
Yep.
Very early.
Now I do want to say that while Haven does have ways of being able to deal with, you know, Spawn of the Abyss, it has Tribunal, Themis Decree, all that. Spawn of the Abyss in the Aegis matchup tends to be how you can win it when you're playing Control Blood. Them taking the damage off of it, and you just, I think sometimes even with it, you just kind of have to just say, you know what, I'm going to evolve it, I'm going to use it to get the damage, even if they kill it, whatever. And that's just sometimes what I feel like what you have to do with the card when you're in the matchup.
And what's funny about this Demon Key setup is that it looks pretty good, but against Haven, it's not at its best, especially if it pops the Abyss right into play. Like, it does do it for free, essentially. It doesn't cost 8 play points that turn, that kind of thing. But like you said, with Themis, with things like Tribunal, it's really hard to get maximum value out of cards like that. So it's kind of like a dead card, I would almost say, because you're going to have time to play the Spawn. You don't really need to cheat it with Demon Key, and it's really going to have the same effect.
Well, here's the problem with Demon Key. It doesn't. It's not like Mask of Black Death, right? So it's not when you're, whenever you take all this damage, you remove all the counters. No, Demon Key is for every time you take damage, one instance of a counter gets removed. So that's a very significant difference between the two cards.
Yep.
One bite's all I need.
Now I imagine it can do the Lion of the Golden City trick where it pops, you know, something down into play super early against an aggro deck, which I think is why he's running it. But as a one-of, it strikes me as weird. I'd rather have.
It doesn't work like that either, because it only works when you take damage on your turn. It doesn't matter like if your opponent does it. Yeah. So the card's worse than you thought.
Yeah. Whenever your leader takes damage during your, I even read it out and it didn't process.
Yeah, it's only during your turn.
Interesting card.
Well, I mean, it would work with cards like, say, like you mentioned earlier, like Spiderweb Imp or, you know, Blood Wolf or Razor Claw. It would work with cards like that. But again, one of the problems that you have with it is that it's just a card that just doesn't gain any real value for a very long time.
Right. And even when you do get the value, how good is it?
Yeah, because the summon isn't immediate. It's on the next turn. So, like, that's even worse in some cases. Actually, every case. So... It
could be good with Zeus. Zeus, I mean, if you can get Zeus with it, but again, that would tend me to believe that you'd want to be playing more Zeuses, so... In any case, we'll get out of this circular thought. Where we're at in the game right now is we're basically just getting into the mid to late game. We see that Essia doesn't have access to an Aegis just yet, so this is his big push. If this 5-6 and the Garuda, the 4-4, get dealt with, he's really just going to be playing the, okay, I'm just going to wait till I draw Aegis, whereas Ketch has combo pieces in his hand already, so what he's looking to do is basically just start pushing forward. He's got the key popping soon. He's got the Bandersnatch popping. He's got the Bloody Mary plus the Diabolic Drain. So he's looking to go off here.
Well, he opted to play Bandersnatch to get the value out of that card now. And I'm not necessarily opposed to that, because he does still have a Mask of Black Death in hand. He has a Tina that he could use to clear off these two right now, provided that Essia, of course, doesn't just jam a Grimnir as like a heads-up play against that. But and he does have Bloody Mary into Dire Bond should he want to take advantage of that. I think, of course, he'll try to set up through spawns before he goes out of his way to play that. But, yeah. So he does have, you know, a few options to be able to pull this off.
It also is a pretty heads-up play against this deck because he knows that there are curates in it. So had he been pushing any sort of damage or anything like that, or just not doing his setup or clearing the board, it probably just would have been healed back anyway. So he's literally just sitting back into the, I have to assemble within the next X amount of turns. What he's probably thinking is in the next 2 or 3 turns, lethal, so that I can win before Igus comes out and becomes like a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he's okay with taking all this damage now.
Well, now we're seeing, and that's also one other thing that I find that's actually really interesting. We see that Essia is playing Nisha in his deck, and like, was it a heads up against Catch specifically?
It might be. I mean, you would think that he had the 2 play points available. This was about to pop. He knows Zeus is an option. Just decided to not play it now, maybe saving it for when he thinks he would play the Bloody Mary combo, but it is a very effective tool against what Catch is doing. It might even be a game-winning tool depending on when he plays them.
Right. You know, we've seen that he hasn't actually played them at all. You know, like
right. He's holding it.
If my brother can, I can.
And he definitely had opportunity this turn, if not any turn, to play it. Like, he had the empty play points. He was being aggressive. That was definitely a turn he could have played well. But being very, very cautious with that card, which I can respect.
Focus on your inferno, Tina.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, we can see that Essia, of course, has no burst damage whatsoever. He does, of course, have multiple Demon's Decrees. And he does have healing in the way of Curate. But... he has no burst damage, so he's not going to be able to kill this turn at all. So that's not even an option. However, we also see that he doesn't have his Igus yet.
Right. Still no Igus. I really think this turn is just going to be Curate, Evolve, jam both into the Zeus. Or he could just Themis here, and then he might play one of his niches.
I think it's a fair line. I mean, it's
like, you either play Curate or Nisha when you're below 20 against this type of a deck, I feel.
Right. And I think that right now would be a great time for him to play that Nisha, because... or even before, like, now, or, like, even the next... He has another one, so he could play it next turn as well. But he could start kind of chaining them to reduce the amount of damage he's going to take. He opts not to play it at all.
Interesting. Okay, well, this will end up good for him, because Catch will set up this spawn, and then he can Nisha plus Tribunal to prevent the damage.
Well,
Not
there
all
is
of it,
one
but
other...
a chunk of it.
There is one other thing, though. That Demon Key is actually going to pop next turn, so the turn after it pops, he'll actually get a follow.
March with the pride of the Red Brat.
I like this. Come on.
Best way to prevent damage. And he even wards up before turn 10. He's like, I've got the backup Grimnir. I just want to make sure that my opponent can't kill me.
Hey. I ain't hating, man.
Nope. It's good play.
Well, he could just choose to... Well, Grimnir.
I like Grimnir here, actually.
Yeah.
Grimnir seems like a fine
play.
play.
There's no... Again, we already know Essia doesn't have any burst, so...
Right. But again, what is that going to pull? So, like, the Demon Key just popped. It's going to pop the... pop the spawn in hand. What's funny is, technically, Demon Key could pop a Bloody Mary into play, and then you could just unload your entire hand if he played the spawn.
He doesn't have a hand like that.
Exactly, but he doesn't have a super damage, it's like self-damaging hand to be able to produce that. So he's kind of in a weird spot here. I think it's just Grimnir, and then next turn you allow the spawn to come into play, which is unfortunately going to get eaten up by another Nisha.
Yeah. It is unfortunate. But
then those Nishas will be gone for the Bloody Mary combo, which is good.
Yes. Yes. I do find that, well, Essia he's not in a bad spot again. He has Curate, he has the Nisha, so he's not in a bad spot at all. He has another Themis Decree if, you know, something too scary comes out. So he's okay. I think he would like to end the game sometime this year. But right now,
honestly, after that Curate, I'm just trying to think of how Catch can actually put together 17 damage. Like, is it even possible? Well, he's definitely going for it now. He needs to draw some cards. I think that's why he's pulling the trigger.
That's fair. And we did actually finally get to see Bloody Mary do something, dealing 6 damage to the opponent because of her effect. So that's great. You know, remember when Bloody Mary's you may not remember because you probably never played the card, but remember, like a long time ago, when Bloody Mary's effect would go off, it would actually just be red, and the reason it's blue right now is because Massive Black Death was played. So yeah, like I kind of went the red though. I went the red effect.
It might overtake it back when it's Catch's turn again. We'll see. Well, definitely now.
Yeah. Well, definitely not, because it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, that Bloody Mary is not staying in play. So it's going to be this into attack the Bloody Mary, play Anisha, play a Hollow Dogma on the Tribunal. And like I said, I really just don't know how Catch can, like, but all of his spawns are gone, his Zeus is gone, one of the Bloody Marys is gone. There's nothing even to combo with anymore. Like, there's just not enough late game in this deck.
Right. It's, kind of the problem here. And this is part of the reason why I've kind of gotten away from this style of list. I mean, I tried playing a little bit of a list like this before, and it just didn't really, gel with me. Execution, that's an interesting deck, but, doesn't really do much.
This is kind of writing on the wall. Like, he can survive. It's not like he's dead. It's realistically just like, how is he supposed to win? The Grimnir's not good enough here. He could drain plus execute to stave off some of the damage. But yeah, it's realistically just he's playing against a wall right now. He's got a Bloody Mary to finish his opponent off with, and nothing to use it with, so he can't even top deck for the win.
Yep. So at this point, it's just going through the motions,
Yeah.
It's just going through the motions, and it kind of sucks. But the thing is, like, Essia played this game quite well. He danced around the stuff, and the damage that Bishop prevented was very relevant. Very relevant.
Yeah, I mean, he saved him for the perfect opportunities. He made sure that had that extra, 4 damage been dealt this turn, he could have top decked into the win here with a double draw. He could have drawn Bloody Mary into something, but as it stands, 8 health too much.
Yeah. And that's not Spiderweb and Business really gonna. It does prevent him from dying. So there's
still gonna live.
It does prevent him from dying, but there's the Aegis. Only.
So now Essia can just be like, I don't care. Now I can trade everything away, play my Aegis. You've got next turn, my friend.
And there's literally no combination of cards you can draw that's going to change this outcome right now.
No.
He gets 2 draws, but there's just none. That doesn't do anything. It's so unfortunate, man.
Well, it does prevent lethal yet again.
It does, but it doesn't. Again, he can't win. Like,
right. Exactly.
He just can't win.
I'm pretty sure Catch is going to see the writing on the wall. So actually, this wasn't a bad setup turn. We know that there's a Themis on the other side, so that's just going to take care of the board. But if there wasn't like a mass removal spell or something here, this could have given him an opportunity.
Yeah.
But of course, Essie has had a million turns to draw cards here and save up for this kind of stuff, so.
Yep. And that's it, man. That's it. He's tapped out.
Game.
Lovely revelation, though. Love it. That's right. You diabolic drain that, I guess, man.
A worthy performance.
Getting all the value out of his cards before he says go.
Yep. Hey, man.
Essia, man. Essia played very well that match. I'm impressed with Essia's play this match. Good on him.
It's
taking this one.
It's almost like he knew the matchup. He knew. Right. He knew. It's almost like he knew.
Seemed very difficult to navigate the waters up against the blood deck that he was faced off against, but Essia seemed to do fine. There seemed to be a lot of threats coming from Catch, just not quite.